All right. Somehow we did it, y'all. We are
Finally.
live, and it only took us 7 or so minutes to exercise all of the daemons for you computer programmers. There's a reason. There's a reason why there's the devils are in the technologies, y'all. Hey,
Right.
we want to welcome Chris from Financial Prepper. He is our neighbor to the east and a great friend of ours. Welcome, Chris, back to the channel. How you doing today, brother?
I'm doing good. Glad to be here. This is an interesting story. Thank you for sharing it with me. I cannot wait to get it out because that's going to be the thing, is getting it out to the community. Same way with Freedom Seeds and precious metals and everything else that we're trying to help, get people to be prepared. This is a big story. And I just want to kind of set the stage real quick so people will stay put. Just hang tight. I wrote down, prepare to be shocked. You don't actually own your stocks and bonds. You are in a pickle. It's all set up and designed this way. And TD and his son, Matt, are going to help fill you in. So thank you for being here. Hit the like button, subscribe, and ring the bell. These guys are trying to do a good job, as well are we. So let's do it. I'm ready because this is nuts.
What's really awesome about this book, y'all, just for everybody, we're going to give you a lot of resources. Okay. thegreattaking.com. This book is free, online PDF. Okay. So you have full access to it with all the hyperlinks, with the provenance, the data. Someone has also uploaded the audiobook to YouTube. Okay. So awesome. You can just search The Great Taking by David Rogers Webb. You can listen to the audiobook for free. So this fella is not selling nothing, y'all. Okay. So he obviously wants to get this information out just as much as we do. And that's why I wanted to have Chris on, where we could talk about this. Matt and I might even do a long form on the Fearless podcast. I might invite Chuck on to do a long form to really kind of flesh all this out, because we've consolidated it for your listening pleasure. And we're going to kind of talk about it, but it is incredibly historically involved here. But yeah, let's just jump right into it. In David's book, he builds this whole case. He gives his background. He's had a very long background in the financial industries. He did a lot of things with venture capital and with acquisitions. So he was doing venture capital acquisitions, and he started noticing all these different trends and whatnot.
Lived through the dot-com bubble and did well. Yep. He was one of the few that made it. That's the kind of people I try to watch, and when they're trying to help, I try to pay attention. And
I'm completely amazed that he's pushing all of his content out there for absolutely free. It doesn't appear like he's trying to sell anything. So that really, cool. I think, is showing his motives and intentions. And then he's also providing you with the data. But one of the things that he noticed, and many people have pointed this out, not just him, velocity of money collapses prior to crises. So he looked back at, for one instance, the Great Depression, right? Mm-hmm. And we can watch these different depressions, whether it's the dot-com, right, 99, 2001, whether it's the 08 crash. You can watch these velocities slow. So the velocity of the money collapses prior to the crisis. So when you're the people, when you're the central banks and you're controlling the fluidity, right, the velocity of dollars, you're in real time watching it tighten, right? So you know what's going to happen, especially in these cyclical type fashions where we watch this over and over again. And then you see, so these are completely avoidable, right? The velocity of money, which measures how often a unit of currency circulates in the economy, collapsed prior to major financial crises like the Great Depression. This suggests the crises are predictable and avoidable. That's why they call currency, right? It's all about the flow. And he noticed that the velocity restricts heavy right before a collapse, right? And then the central banks do absolutely nothing. Well, actually, what they do is they do everything to exacerbate it, right?
Well, they pump the bubble, right?
Yeah.
They pump the bubble, pump it, and then when it starts to bust, they pour the coals to it by tightening interest rates and all this hard to get money to the people that are addicted to the easy money. And to realize that this is all by design. And it's obvious when you see them talking, they're lying. Sometimes they say the truth, and it's obvious they're not stupid. They're evil.
Right.
So when this is how you're going to own nothing and be happy. It's all there. It's ready. You're unsecured creditor. It's very interesting.
It's so fascinating because one, as a nation, we forewent all the checks and balances, even by establishing a Federal Reserve. And it's incredible how we continue this continues unencumbered, unabated. Right. And then we have these supposed cycle busts, these bubble pops. Right. And then the small guy, the everyday white collar, blue collar, no collar working man that pays all the taxes, they always suffer. Right. And the big six get bigger. Right. And the BIS and the big banks and the centrals, they become more and more concentrated, more and more centralized, and it is a wealth transfer. And I've been saying for an incredibly long period of time, I got out of the stock market in 2008, and I've been saying since I got out, the stock market is nothing more than a wealth transfer. And the reason I say that, and I'm nobody, I'm not that smart. I didn't go to college that long. I wasn't involved in venture capital, but when I was involved in day trading in 2007, 2008, and I watched the AIGs and the Citigroups and all of these financial stocks, trade millions of shares a day and trade on a penny. Right. And when you're actively involved in that, and this is something that, David Rogers Webb brings up. He's like, he remembers, I forget, he says what year it was or what couple years it was. He remembers seeing when it went from like real people trading to like algorithmic manipulation, and what I was seeing in 2008 with these falling financials that would just oscillate on a penny for days and weeks and months and all this stuff was completely non-human. It was a non-human interface. They were churning these things algorithmically and with software on the front end. And, and now what? Now everything's a derivative, right? Yeah. Everything's a derivative of a derivative and fractional lending. And then, COVID and never mind. No, there is no fractional lending. There's no type of collateralization of any lending. It's all, synthesized derivatives, wow, that's not going to pop, right?
Yeah. So you got these, I wrote it down, these global hybrid war, which will be how they own everything. They manipulate the stock market. Like you said, for the last 20 years or better, it's been Fugazi. You don't own your shares. You don't own your bonds. You're a secured creditor, and this means safe harbor for themselves. So if they go insolvent, when they go belly up, they just take your assets. You're not in the picture anymore. It's like, hey, sorry, we got to do this for the environment, for everything. Well, the climate change. Well, you name it. We've got to do this. Sorry, you lost everything. But the good news is you can rent it. This is how you're going to do it.
That's exactly it.
One of the big things I noticed going through it, and this is actually what he said. He said, the big thing is the client assets are taken free of payment. The banks go belly up. They take your assets. And this would be called legalized theft. pretty much. This is exactly what it is.
Oh, yeah.
But when it bursts, you will be left with nothing. And the protected class, being JP Morgan, they're the untouchables. They are the ones that have the senior authority over your stocks, bonds, and all, that.
Yeah.
They get that, and you get nothing. So the protected class, the central elite, they're protected. That's the
predator class.
It's just a broken. It's so
and
broken.
this actually happened with JP Morgan in 2008, right? And so there were folks in Cleveland, and this also involved all this mortgage-backed security stuff, right? And people lost their homes, they lost everything, these mortgages popped, the banks got all their money, and then they even they even tied FDIC with backing of Fannie and Freddie, so there was like double dipping on those. They were bailing out the banks with the mortgages, still taking the houses, obviously, so that us plebs and commoners have no place to lay our head, right? And then JP Morgan gets it. And even in their disclosures and disclaimers, they say, right, like, hey, look, all of these central bankings and backers, they have first priority, they have first position, and play stupid games, win stupid prizes. I mean, unfortunately, because you're, a commoner and you breathe air and you work a 9 to 5 and, you're not born with a silver spoon in your mouth, you're at the bottom of the totem pole. So you get absolutely nothing, but don't worry, we'll rent it back to you.
Yeah. It's crazy that these banks are failing, and I put a timestamp on it. They started failing. And it's like, okay, this kind of marks, it started, and we're going to start seeing, one a day, two a day. And then they started grouping them together. Did you notice that?
Yes.
These five banks have been downgraded, which in my opinion is the same thing as a failure.
Sure.
They failed to be a solvent bank, and they are starting to get downgraded, and they're doing these lumps. I didn't really think that was going to be the case. I just thought they would announce one every now and then. But that is it's happened. And who loses? You said earlier, who loses when this happens is the working man, the place, the people that build this place, that make it work and run. It's nuts. I do want to encourage everybody to read the book, The Great Taking by David Rogers. It makes perfect sense. It really does. I didn't know how they were going to do it. Now this is it. This is how they're going to take.
He's nailed it. And he talks about how how they launched disinfo campaigns to confuse the public. Government statistics were deliberately corrupted and false narratives promoted in the media to hide economic weakness, fuel bubbles, and confuse the public prior to engineered classes. You don't believe me?
How about you?
Oops, sorry, wrong one. Which one did I?
The problem was too many people are working, making too much money. That's not the problem.
So there you go. So, I mean, if that doesn't explain it, then
he's never explained anything.
No, never.
It's weird. No. I mean, so a win for him, like if he crushes it, is he made it on stage. Like he made it. Okay, it's a good day. Laughing stock of the free world's craziness.
Unreal. Chris, you were talking about that security entitlement, back in the day. And I'm 47, y'all. I'm 48 now. I'm sorry. I'm not that old.
I remember up pretty good.
I'm trying. I remember stock certificates, right? And I inherited a couple small stock certificates, right? And you own these shares of whatever, right? And that is an absolute thing of the past. All of these, I mean, Chris, you can speak to this too, even when there are they've done this in every sector, even in precious metals. They've done this with gold and silver certificates, and then gold and silver derivatives. And that is how they're trying to completely, that is how they're undermining this entire, that's how you're going to own nothing and be happy. That's how they're going to take it from you before you even know it's gone.
Well, just a few cliff notes here. Collateral management is talked about. New systems optimizing using all securities as collateral. Cross-border sweeps to CCPs are ready for the coming crash. They're all ready for it.
Yeah.
You've got the safe harbor bankruptcy law changes, protect derivatives counterparties. That's the what did we call them earlier? The protected class.
Mm-hmm.
They're completely protected from this. It's like the worse they can make it, the better they do for themselves. It's the most selfish thing ever, to take somebody's stocks and bonds that they're planning on retiring with. Watch out for bank holidays. We talk about that a lot.
Yeah.
That's what they'll do. They'll come out and say, hey, we're going to have a holiday. This is a new one. The bank's going to be shut down for a few days. And there was a general that came out and he said, look for a 2-week bank shutdown. Did you see that?
I didn't see that.
No.
Yeah, it was good. I think he nailed it. And just watch for bank shutdowns, bank holidays. And as this happens, they're going to roll the CBDC out. It's all, they're getting it all in line where people will just eat it up.
Yeah.
Well, that's going to be their only way to reconstruct it, right? Because they're going to take all the stuff. He makes a real good point, an analogy in history with the Great Depression, and when the government said, oh, hey, by the way, it's illegal for you to have gold, right? Now, if the citizens had gold, they would continue to transact, in gold, and things would have been tough and rough, but life would have went on as normal. We would have transacted in gold and silver, and things would have been relatively non-cataclysmic. But what did the government do? No. We want all the gold, and then they piled it in a big pile and sat on it, right? So it just exacerbated the problem, and it worked so well back then. They're like, hey, we can do this like over and over again. And, once we go full synthetic and full derivative, this is another reason why they've so derivatized everything, and they so want to extract the wealth. This is why they're going to start monetizing the soil biome, right? They want to extract every ounce of value from everything, y'all.
Yeah.
I mean, these people are as insane as it gets, and they literally want it all. They want everything.
Mm-hmm.
So they got the bubble pumped up. It's all in their benefit. They know it's gonna happen. The goal is to make it as bad as possible, so they win as big as they can. And now I think we're starting to get into this great deflation that he talks about. And how do people pay their debt back when there's this deflation where not many people have a job? The deflation before the inflation, like the hyperinflation. Yeah, that's present deflation ensures debts can't be repaid after the everything bubble pops. It makes perfect sense. If you're an evil person and you wanted to do that, this is exactly how you would do it. It's how I would do it if I was trying to come up with a way to take everybody's assets. This would be it. And that's exactly what's happening.
Yeah. And then what happens? Central bank digital currencies impose total control. The elimination of cash and the imposition of digital currencies will allow unelected central banks to monitor all transactions and engineer conditions that can forcibly divest all property. This is why the crash has to be cataclysmic, because the only way, the way that they're going to get everybody to, air quotes, buy in to CBDC is they're going to so thoroughly implode everything that there aren't going to be any options. That's how they're going to get that full instant implementation.
And that's how they're going to implement social credit scores too.
Sure.
100%.
It'll be piggyback.
Yeah. It'll
be one and
right
the same.
there. Yeah.
Yeah. There was, maybe it was Doug Casey, somebody that I like to listen to that has one of those 30,000 foot views of things, and they're usually right. Well, saying that's the only thing that's holding them up is they're having trouble with this social credit score. They don't really have all of that set in place quite yet. And they're working on it pretty hard.
Yeah.
They're looking to China for that. Their big brother cameras that I made a video about.
Did you say China?
China, I have to have my China. China, because China.
Sorry, inside joke.
China, yeah. As soon as I heard him say that, I thought of the Chinese nationals that have been crossing the border. And is that crazy to anybody else? And I know I'm getting a little off topic, but I like to say this in many videos because I really do believe this is happening. We're being infiltrated across the border.
1,000,000%. And this is what I always like to point out too, Chris. They create this dialectic like Russia, China, US, right? But I think he even points this out in his book. The Chinese, they implemented all of these exact same strategies, fiscal financial strategies, right? With all these exact same derivatives, and they have failed exponentially as well as we have, and so this takedown, shakedown, they're already implementing the social credit score and tying it to your buying power and tying it to a central bank currency. And it's just a model and a method. And this is the strangest, weirdest part to me, Chris. I forget who I was talking to about this just the other day. I don't know if it was on the podcast, but we're on the eve of World War III nuclear war. It seems pretty obvious to me. And they're beating the drums and all these different things. Drums, And what's fascinating to me here's what I can't wrap my head around, so to speak, from a 5D chess, global deal, is China makes everything that they use. China makes everything that we use.
Yeah. China
already owns a large portion of our national debt. China already owns most of our ports, an inordinate amount of our dirt, right?
Yeah.
So isn't shooting us in the face with a nuke or whatever like self-equivalent to like shooting yourself in the groin?
I believe 100% you're right. Okay. China, I don't think they want to tear this place apart and blow it up and flatten it. I think they want the infrastructure. They want the infrastructure. They do not want the people that inhabit the infrastructure.
Correct. Yeah, I totally. They
Unless
want
you bow to the CCP.
All they have to do is sit back and watch it collapse in front of them. Like literally, that's what's happening right now. So why blow it up? You don't have to blow it up.
That's another great point.
Sit back and let it collapse. It's collapsing right now.
We got a bunch of like pink hair,
freaks,
multi whatever
running the place,
and and they're supposedly, we're gonna ship these poor people off to spill their blood for bankers or whatever. And come on, I don't, that's not even gonna. I don't know. I mean, there's so many things that just make me scratch my head and say, how is this going? And this is what's this is why we talk about it, y'all, because a lot of people are, oh, doom and gloom and blah, blah, blah. No, we need to talk about this because on average, most people aren't even thinking about it.
No.
And, every decision you make affects this, right? Whether it's going to affect your personal, whether it's going to affect your local community, whether it's going to affect your economy and your parallel economy. I mean, that's why we're networking with Chris and other awesome people.
Yeah.
And they're our neighbors to the east, right? We want to create this community, this network where we can still contact with each other, barter, communicate, and do all these things because it's the grand theft world. We weren't on the we're not on the list, dude. No. We're not part of the club. It's a big club and we're not in it.
We're on another list.
And we're trying to navigate this thing and figure out kind of like, they're going to do their thing, like with this whole Israel Gaza thing. And then, like, oh, well, we just blew up Ukraine and spent. This is another fascinating thing, right, Chris? Like, oh, we got to tighten up and we can't give the plebs money. And if you lose your house, you get to lose your house. But here, let's print a couple $100 billion for the Ukraine.
Yeah.
See, that's how currencies get blown up. Going to war when you can't afford it. Yeah. How's that going to work out? How are we going to fund 2 wars and then fund all the entitlement class all at the same time? As everybody loses as a lot of people lose their job, as things get hard, they can't pay. Man, it is the perfect setup.
It really is. Yeah.
And this guy connects. That's what we want to encourage you to read the book. He connects all the dots. Yeah. And then when he connects all the dots and you're like, oh, because, you hear Klaus and, you are nothing and be happy while you eat the bugs, and you're like, wait a minute. Like, okay, I know that's what they want. I mean, I know that's what they want, right? And they flash their gang signs, but like, how in the world
that'll never happen.
Are they going to do it?
Yeah.
Well, this is how they're going to do it.
Yeah, that's true.
Hey, tripped me out the other day. I try to watch the WF quite a bit just to watch what they're doing. Look at their website. I want to encourage everybody, go over there and check it out. Just get lost. It's a huge platform. You can watch anything you want. And I was watching this little wormy guy talk about one. I was talking about how AI is going to be a new god and God's not real.
Yuval Noah Harari.
That's it. And the other fella, or maybe it was him. They said, "What are you going to do with the plebs? Us? What are you going to do with us?" And he answered the question, I think, as honestly as he could. And he said, we're going to do it through sticks and carrots. And he kind of was really heavy on the sticks, and he noticed what he was doing. He said, well, maybe carrots will be better. And we're going to keep them occupied with drugs and video games. That's their plan.
Yeah.
That's how they're going to deal with the population.
Yeah. And that was Soma, right? That was not 1984, but that was the other one. That was who's the Huxley, Aldous Huxley's book, right? Brave New World. That's what it was. Yeah, that's it.
1984. That's a manual, guys. I hate to tell people to read it because it's not very happy. It's not a very fun book. God. But if you want a manual, their manual, if you want a copy, it's that. It is that. The Big Brother cameras, the money, the ministry of truth, the government's taking over the internet. We made a video on that yesterday. I was whooping on the anvil with a hammer because we talked about how it was up. The bill came up, and this was going to give the government everything on the internet. They're going to take it away from the free market, and the government's going to run it.
And Chris, me and you, and me and you, we've been to reprogramming school. When you say naughty words on them tubes, and you have to go to re-education camp because they give you a stick, right? And then
yeah, that's exactly what they did. They gave me a stick. Yeah. I just got out of re-education camp, actually.
Nice.
I can tell.
I got 3 of the questions wrong, and I had to read it.
Dang it.
But it's fact. We're laughing, but the internet has control. The government has control of what we're going to see on the internet. This is the same. 1984. Hitler, he had control of the radio. That was a big thing. It rolled out at the same time. And if you got caught every now and then at night, if the clouds were just right, I guess you could get some skip and you could listen to international radio stations. If you got caught, it was a death sentence.
Yeah.
That was, and he controlled the propaganda. That's how you do it, Control what people see. They can just weigh the scale. They can just tilt it just a little bit with those algorithms. They can, like, they're going to see my face, and they're going to, you're going to go down just a little bit.
Yeah. They're going to do the same exact thing with our faces too.
Yeah.
Oh, they already are.
And this is why, right? Your wife, you guys sell precious metals.
Yeah.
So I want to encourage everybody, if you're looking for precious metals, the spread is still great. The price is right. This is all part of this parallel. How are we going to be able, once they pop the bubble? How are we going to be able to continue to transact and barter, right? Precious metals, it's been around for an incredibly long time as a store of value. So that's an option. We talk about the food 401k, and a shameless plug. The Food Forest in a Box is available at our website. So if you're looking to start that homestead process and the perennial growing of your own food, you know, you guys got to get involved and start, you know, the time to plant a fruit tree is 20 years ago, right? And the next best time is today or yesterday or tomorrow. But you got to get doing it, you know? And
I'd like to add one more thing to your 401k plan.
Sure.
The home defense 401k. I talk about it often. And we got to be real careful what we say on the interwebs. But the dose trace is getting hard to get. 9 MMs. I bought a bunch when it was cheap. Seed dispenser holders, the ones that hold mini seeds, are going to get hard to come by. So I was buying them in the box of 100 at $8-9. Last time they went to $80. This is something that you can flip. You can find a deal on soon, and you can keep it. It's a useful thing. You know, you can use it for home defense, or you can barter, or you can flip it. You can, when it doubles, my plan is to buy a bunch, which I did, and it doubles, sell a little bit. When it doubles again, sell a little bit, you know? And hopefully prices will come back down one more time, and I'll do it again. But that is an excellent 401k. The food 401k, the home defense 401k. The point is get out of the system as much as you can.
Exactly.
We just did a story on you don't own your stocks and bonds. You know?
Yeah,
you can turn that into a whole cow.
Yeah, that's exactly it. You know, you start investing in that's real life, y'all. And if you can get dirt, spread out, move out, get some dirt, you know, not everybody can, but hey, start where you are with what you got, get your head out of the sand,
support a local farmer,
develop your community, right? Shake a farmer's hand.
Start buying eggs locally.
Buy locally.
Sure.
We have our own chickens, right? We have 40 layers.
Yeah.
We still buy hundreds, and this is not hyperbolic. We buy hundreds of eggs per week from our neighbors because we eat a lot of eggs. And, you know, that's all part of this network. You know, we're not going to Brookshire's or Wally World to buy our eggs. We're going a mile up the street in either direction. And we have multiple neighbors.
It's half price too.
And it's better price, much higher
Free
quality.
Range. Yeah.
You know, and this is all part of this. What you have to develop. A lot of what's got us here is we've developed a lot of really bad habits.
Yeah. We've gotten really lazy.
And we've gotten very artificial, synthetic, push a button, ship it to my door.
Yeah.
Instant gratification.
Exactly.
Right. We have to reverse that process.
Yep.
And it's going to take more effort. It's going to take like eyeball to eyeball. It's going to take human interaction.
Shaking a neighbor's hand. Yeah.
It's going to involve like you being uncomfortable, maybe.
Yeah. 100%.
You know what I mean? We can't just like cloister and huddle in our little domicile, right? We got to get out there. We got to meet people. There's all these great, Chris went to the Red Pill Expo. We were at Mountain Readiness, right? You got to get out there. You got to meet like-minded people. You got to network. You got to talk. And you're going to see everything that everybody else is doing. Oh, hey, I make this thing. I do that thing, you know, and this is how you network. This is how you're going to find the stuff that you're going to need when you're going to need it.
And when you do that too, you'll find out that you're not alone in this world too. You'll find out that you're like, wow, there is a gigantic community of freedom loving people still out there, unlike what the stupid news is telling you, you know?
Exactly.
So yeah. And a lot of y'all that are here listening to us know that, and, you know, good for y'all, you know, for, you know, disconnecting from the fake news, you know?
Well, before I sign off, I'd like to say this. You said, you mentioned Stacey. She does sell precious metals. That's her number somewhere.
There you go.
It'll be in the description, but I want to encourage you. It doesn't matter. I want you to get the best price. It doesn't matter if you buy from her or somebody else. I encourage people to, there's starting to be people that are selling their precious metals, because people are coming on hard times already.
Yeah.
And when somebody believes in something, a lot of times they buy too much of that one thing and they have to sell it. So you can start, you could probably even put an ad on Facebook or, I don't know. I don't know how you would do it, but I would get 3 bids before I went to any broker. That's how you keep people honest, because we desire to bring the best price. And if we can't, then I expect everybody to go somewhere else. It's that simple.
Yeah.
The moral of the story is get out of the system at the best price possible,
Yeah.
Well, guys, I've got to go back to work.
All right, Chris.
Sounds
hey, man.
good.
Well, thanks for getting on. I was glad we were iron out these bugs.
I'm going to do another video on this because I just want to make a lot of noise about this.
I appreciate you, bud. Thank
That's
you.
great.
Yeah, and this is
and we got to get out there and like chill. I got to see what you're doing. I know you cut down a bunch of trees over there.
Yeah, we got to get over there sometime.
And
it's crazy. This place looks so different. You won't recognize it, man. I have moved the earth for a month.
Yeah, that is great.
That's great.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah, it's cool. It's gonna be. Bring your fishing pole.
All right,
do
that
it.
sounds good.
It'll be good.
Yeah.
Awesome.
All right, guys.
Appreciate you, brother.
All right.
Thank you for being here. Have an awesome day.
See y'all.
See y'all
Have a
later.
great day.
Bye-bye.
Later.